I'm Val, aka Mrs. Business.
Hey, and I'm Bobby, aka The Renderer.
You're watching Marvel News Online, and today we are talking about Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Ooh, so exciting.
So I think I'm more excited about this movie than you are.
Right.
And you might say to yourself, why are we talking about Star Wars? Because this is a Marvel website. Well, we feel like it ties in, one, because it's one of the biggest movies of the season, so we want to talk about that. You know, obviously we have the tie-in with Marvel comics and Star Wars comics coming together. There's some big news with Rebels coming out, comic books made by Marvel, which will be really great. We already have, obviously, Star Wars, a couple of specific characters, Han Solo, that kind of thing. So it fits. It works. We're going to make it work because I'm
awesome.
a super fan. We're here in the Marvel News Online office, and you can tell behind us we have a Star Wars wall very close to my desk because I'm a super fan.
Right. Now,
So,
about that Rebels comic, though, that's kind of what I want to dive into, and
Yeah.
it's being made by Marvel. I heard a little bit about
Yes.
that. What's that? Is it going to be now? Is it going to be like the Rogue series or whatever?
The Rebel series?
The Rebel series.
So I'm
From-
not sure, but I would assume that it's going to have some tie-in. One, because that's marketable and it's the smartest thing to do. And, you know, if you haven't watched Rebels on Disney Channel, you should. It's on Disney XD. I have not watched the third season. So I need to get into that. It's been a little bit crazy this year. But I actually like it more than I like some of the other animated Star Wars series like Clone Wars. And I know I'm going to get a bunch of groany groans out there. I'm going to rewatch it. But Rebels has a really good push. And there is actually a tie between Rebels, as you can see my Star Wars Rebels wall over there. Well, you can't, but it's over there. Actually ties into the new Star Wars movie.
Really?
So,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So let me just ask, are there some characters that are in the Rebels show that transfer over to the movie?
yes, because it takes place in that time period. So we're going to talk about the movie. We're not going to give any spoilers. I've seen it. You haven't seen it, so we're going to kind of hit it from that aspect. When you think about where this film fits, okay, Rogue One, is it fits between Star Wars Episode 3 and 4, but I'm going to tell you it snuggles right up and is like spooning Episode 4. Okay, so don't go into it thinking that you're jumping right from, you know, Anakin's burning on the coals. That's where it picks up. It is spooning right up against Episode 4.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what happens. But what I'm going to tell you is people are saying it's super dark. This is what I have to say about that. It is a dark film as far as the content and the way that it goes, in that the original three Star Wars films, they're kind of hokey. Like, there is some danger and there are some, you know, villains, but they're kind of like, it's this lighter side. And then you get to Episode 1, 2, and 3, and it gets a little darker as Anakin turns. Spoiler, if you don't know that happens, you shouldn't be watching this right now. But I would have to say that Revenge of the Sith and the contents of that film is just as dark as this one, because Anakin turns and he kills a whole bunch of kids.
Right.
So that's pretty dark. When you get into Rogue One, what I mean by dark is the fact that it hits closer to what a reality war film would be. So that's kind of where I want to hit. My favorite film genre, other than superhero films, are war films. And this doesn't spoil it, because if you've seen any of the imagery and if you've read my review, which is on marvelnewsonline.com right now, there are some images on there that they're obviously fighting in this film. It's a Star Wars film, so there's some fighting. But there's a scene where I was watching it and I really thought we were in World War II.
Wow.
So if you think about The Force Awakens, and the only way that these two movies kind of fit together is that they have the new technology and the visuals are the same, and of course they're all in a Star Wars story, but that also reminded me of a little bit of Nazi Germany and World War II, on how they had, you know, the visuals in The Force Awakens. It kind of comes back to that in this film, in that there was a time in the movie where I was thinking, they're on the beach.
Wow.
And what happens on the beach in World War II? You know, it's that kind of stuff that it is dark. It isn't bloody, but there is a lot of killing. And like I said in my review, This movie puts the war in Star Wars.
So that's a good, great
Yeah.
news for us video game fans who
Yeah.
love the game Battlefront.
Yes,
Because that's
yes.
going to make a cool little DLC or a standalone game in itself.
Yeah, I really think if they don't already have that in the works to come out ASAP, that it would be a bad move on their part. I'm not a gamer, but you're a gamer, but the visuals from this film, I think, is my favorite thing. So if you didn't know, the director, so in my review, the one thing that I have to say about this film, if I were to say nothing else, is balls. Okay, right now my review is a B, and it could change possibly after I see it again tomorrow. But it's a B for balls. I give the studio credit for having balls. I give the writers credit for having balls, and director big balls. Because if you look at the background of how this film came together and how it was made and what the studio did for this director, it's not what has happened that happens anymore in this day and age in film. If you look at George Lucas's background, and he came out of film school, didn't really have a ton behind him, especially like the big blockbuster hits, and he went to a studio and says, hey, I want to make this sci-fi film where everybody's in space and there's Jedi Knights and then there's princesses and then there's these guys in masks and the main character, you can't even see his face through 3 movies, and they gave him the rights to make and the money to make these films. This is kind of what happened to the director of Rogue One. So the director of Rogue One has only directed one other feature film.
Wow.
And the rest of the things that he's directed have all been television series or documentaries, but he's done visual effects on big films. So that's why the visual effects are really good, because you have the director coming from the side of, I know what they need to get it here.
Okay.
And so for the studio to say, oh, we're going to take this super Star Wars nerd, and he is one. He's like a super fan. And we're going to let him direct his second feature film, which is going to be Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Like, he's my hero. He's every nerd's hero at this point. Because, I mean, he went from directing Godzilla in 2014 to Rogue One.
That's pretty, that's pretty wild.
Balls.
Like, holy crap. Like, you would think you'd be like stepping on eggshells, right? I don't
Right.
want to mess up because this is my career on the line. But judging from what you're saying, it's a really good film. So, being how I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, right? Like, I like Star Wars I like the canon. I like the episode 1, 2, 3, all the following of the Skywalkers, right?
Okay.
I love that portion of it. But when it branches off to like the animated series and all of that, I didn't really get into any of that.
Well, Rebels is a little more canon than you would think.
Okay.
With the characters and with the originals.
So then why would someone like me want to go out? 'Cause
Honestly,
when I first saw the preview for Rogue One, I wasn't excited at all. I was like, "What? This is a prequel. Why do I want to even see it? This has nothing. I want to know what happens to Rey."
I wanted to say, well, you will. Calm down. Just one more year. The reason why I was excited, and I think how you can get more mainstream viewers excited about this film, is that it is the story behind the story. I'm a history nut, and I understand this is all make-believe. However, it comes in with the aspect of being the story behind the story. So it does come with that history feel. The look of the film when you jump right into the first city, the planet that they're on, is very Guardians of the Galaxy. I have to tell you, when they're going through the city and I'm looking around and I'm thinking, this is Guardians of the Galaxy feel. But if I want to sell it to you from a gamer standpoint, the director fought really hard to shoot on 70 millimeter.
Wow.
And he built 360-degree sets. So
wow.
I'm a director. This is my second feature film. I need to stay under budget, which is $200 million, but still.
Dang.
But will you build me 360-degree sets because I want you to? The studio said okay. So when you jump in, when you're on Tatooine before, you've seen it, and it's cool. Tatooine's really cool, and you jump in and there's the scenery. At some point, your brain knows that it stops. When you jump into the scenery in Rogue One, it doesn't stop. And you can tell that if you were to look left or look right, like on the new iPhone 360 app, I'm just saying, you know that there's something beyond the point that you can see.
Wow.
So when he films it and he shoots it, everything is there. So behind him, on the side of him, in front of him, and so you can tell, you feel that, you feel like you're in it instead of just that you're watching it. So taking it from that aspect and bringing it to the video game world, I almost feel like it was the other way around.
That's kind of cool.
I'm watching the video, because in a video game you're looking at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of feel like he brought that dimension on screen in Rogue One.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So as far as budget goes, you said it had a $200 million budget.
I mean, that's what it says, in the vicinity of $200 million on IMDb. You know,
how does that stack up to like the previous Star Wars film and then other Marvel films that come out?
They're all in the same ballpark. It's about right.
So,
but you have an indie/television director directing this one, and you have a brand new story. Yes, it lives in the Star Wars world, and you know the stories that are kind of standing around it, but this in itself is a whole new story. So if you've never seen any Star Wars film, you could get into this film and you'd be fine. Now, if you're a fan, you're going to understand all the nuances, the jokes, the humor. Alan Tudyk, oh my gosh, he is a smartass. Like, I'm going to say the swear word there. He, if you don't know, he plays the new robot. And, you know, we've had in the past C-3PO and even R2-D2 and BB-8. They're you know, sarcastic, even though they're just making noises. But, you know, C-3PO has always been kind of the sarcastic, stodgy, you know, kind of thing. No, this guy he's Alan Tudyk, you know, but he's in there. And, you know, the whole time he wore a full bodysuit and he was on stilts while shooting this. So he was there with everyone, you know, and they made jokes that, you know, his crotch was in their face most of the time in these really tight, like spandexy things. But I really, at one point, as he's flying one of the ships, and we'll get to the airships in a minute, which is another reason why I know you'll love it, is all the hardware in this film. At one point, I really just wanted him to say, "I'm a leaf in the wind," and like my nerdy little heart, you know, but he didn't, because it's not Serenity. But the hardware in this film is awesome. So you've got the garrison, and this movie has the best garrison scene I have ever seen in any Star Wars film.
Okay.
And I mean, you'd think in Clone Wars or you'd think in Force Awakens when they had that, but this has the best garrison shots. Now, you've seen all these costumes because they live in the worlds before and after, but I don't know how they did it, but they introduced all of these new costumes, new hardware, new ships, new guns and everything, but also them being the same ones that you've seen before. So they're like extensions. They're in this place that, you know, we live in one city and there's another city over here, and you kind of have the same stuff, but you've never interacted with each other. That's how it's not so different that you don't think it doesn't live in the Star Wars universe, but it's badass. Yeah. So I give it a B right now. I'm going to see it again tomorrow, and I really think that my grade will probably go up to an A-. It's not an A+ for me, and I can't tell you why right now. However, in a couple weeks when you've had a chance to see the film, we're going to get the whole crew around the table, and we're going to go over what I thought was missing, the whole reason why I love the film, which I can't tell you because it's the biggest spoiler, and it's emotional roller coaster from scene one. But that's Rogue One, everyone. It opens up tomorrow in theaters.
I'm going to see it just for the robot.
Yeah,
like
you
that
should.
one scene with the robot. That's it. All right, guys. Thanks
Marvel
for tuning
News
in.
Online.
Marvel News Online. Peace.